Hello and welcome to Hydra Collectibles, where we let our geek flag fly. My name's Luke and I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about a subject very close to my heart, the Lost Timeline. Okay, so whenever the show Lost comes up in conversation, which in my world is more often than not, uh, three different types of people seem to come about. We have the first type, which is people that absolutely love Lost, like myself, and don't really see a problem, don't really know why people don't love this show. Then we have people who just haven't seen the show and they don't really want to watch it because they remember that there's unanswered questions and things that they just didn't really want to get behind and get into because apparently it's got a bad rap. And then you got people who loved the show while it was airing and watched every single episode, and it all fell apart from them with the final episode because they were dead the whole time, and that was stupid. And why would I dedicate any further time to a show that ended so badly? Well, this video is aimed at you guys because that's not how it happened. So please, please, please give this video a watch. Maybe this will help you better understand and maybe even convince you to rewatch the show again. Now, in this world of binge culture, I think this show could have thrived. However, this show was so ahead of its time, and being released on a weekly basis, making people need to wait a whole week to see what happened next. I think that's kind of what done it a bit of disservice. I personally loved it. That gave me enough time to jump on all the forums and have discussions with people and follow the Lost experience, which is something for a later video. But yeah, this show is, without doubt, one of the best shows ever created. So please, if you haven't seen it, please give it a watch. You might not even need this explanation video to understand it if you're watching it from fresh. However, if you're one of those people, like I said, who loved the show but think it fell flat at the end, maybe this can help you. So without further ado, let's draw it out. So, here we have our Lost Timeline. What happened, happened. So none of this, they were dead the whole time or it be in purgatory. The island existed. So, over here, we have our heroes crash landing on the island via Oceanic Flight 815. And through the course of events, and I'm not going to go too deeply into spoilers here, through the course of events, they find a mysterious hatch. This hatch has some video footage within it that explains about a company called the Dharma Initiative that lived on the island back during the 70s. However, in 1977, an incident occurred forcing this hatch to be built and forcing a code to be entered into a computer every 108 minutes to stop the world from ending. So this was one of the biggest mysteries of Lost, something that all of us fans were truly in awe of. Dharma Initiative for the win. So, again, in the course of events, they get to a time where they have to move the island. Yes, they physically moved an island. This, however, caused the island to basically skip and jump through time. And Daniel Faraday best explains this by saying that they were on a record player and that the pin just kept jumping and they were landing on different tracks. Anyway, they finally work out how to stop this from happening, and they do so. And that forces our islanders to end up in 1974, right in the heart of the Dharma Initiative. So, our heroes, who were still on the island at the time, now have to incorporate themselves into the Dharma Initiative. I'm not going to tell you how they do it, but they basically end up living quite a cushy life in Dharmaville. Moving forward in time continues to pass on our timeline until the people who weren't on the island at the time, that's right, some people managed to get off. This was one of those things. People kept saying, I just want to know if they get off the island. Well, it's like, yeah, some of them do. So anyway, some of them get off the island and they feel the urge, they have to go back. There's this unfinished business. And so, in order to do that, they have to best replicate the original crash. So, with the right number of people that left the island boarding back onto a plane, they board the Ajira flight 316. And as you might see here, a lot of these numbers being famous lost numbers. So the Ajira flight also crashes on the island and sends our candidates back to 1977, the time of the incident. Now, an interesting point here is a lot of the people didn't know, and spoilers ahead, didn't know which one out of Sun or Jin was a candidate because the name was just Kwan. Well, I'm here to tell you that the answer was Jin, because Jin went back in time, but Sun did not. When the Ajira flight crashed, all of the candidates disappeared and ended up back in 1977. However, she remained with Ben Linus, with Lapidus, in present time. She didn't go back, therefore, in my opinion, she is not one of the candidates. So the candidates end up back in 1977, and they are met by their fellow survivors who originally went back in 1974. Now they've lived a nice pleasant life, and then all of a sudden all this drama's come into their lives again. However, these guys know from these Dharma videos that they watched that this incident is imminent, and they need to do what they can in order to stop it. And in their little hearts, they believe that by stopping the hatch from ever being built, they their plane would never crash and they would never end up on this island. That isn't true, and they are actually the cause of the incident. And so, again, not going into too much detail, what they do and what they cause gives us the flash sideways. So, these flash sideways, and this is where the heavy spoilers come in, these flash sideways aren't an altered reality. This is not when the plane did not crash. This is literally just a glimpse into the very, very far future. So the flash sideways are actually the purgatory. So it's not that the island was purgatory, it's not that they were dead all along, they didn't die when the Oceanic 815 crashed. This is way, way, way into the future. So at the same time as the creators are giving us this red herring, the survivors end up going back forward in time to present day. And they realise that the hatch was still built and that everything was still there, because what happened. This was always the way it was going to be. They would always crash on the island, they would always find the hatch, they would always go back in time, and they were the incident. They were the reason. This up here, the flash sideways, is just a red herring. It was something to throw us off, to make us think, is it an altered timeline? When in fact, it was a very far future flash forward. So, they would carry on living their lives, and again, I'm not going to tell you what happens on the island. They would carry on living their lives until the time would come when they would pass, and they would end up in their purgatory to then end the show in the church scene. Because nobody does it alone, and time doesn't really exist here. So, yeah, I think that best explains it. Again, I'm sorry if you totally understand this already. But yeah, just think of those flash sideways. Think of those. In seasons 1, 2, we had flashbacks, then we had flash forwards. Just think of the flash sideways in season 6 as being full on flash forwards. This was after all the events. People died long times after. Some people died. This is our main timeline. When they died, and they ended up into the flash forward, or the flash sideways as we call them, to then eventually get the church. Because the most important thing that these people done in their lives, the most important times that they spent, was on this island with these people. So I hope that does best explain. Again, I'm sorry if I'm pandering to an audience that already knows this information, but I think it really is important. Please, please, please give this show a rewatch. It deserves it. So until next time, I'll see you in another life. Take care.